You're gonna run through this Molotov whilst blind. You're gonna have half a second to try and find a head and pluck it off, and you just go, yeah, all right, that's what I want.
Welcome to Overtime on Inferno, your weekly roundup of all the big stories in CSGO in less time than it takes to figure out ESL Pro League's tiebreaker math. A quick reminder to rate and review us at the end of the episode. It really helps us. I'm Logan. This is Aizyesque. Let's get into it. We're going to start today with a surprise for everybody that Niko was signed by OG.
Not the Bosnian Niko, don't worry. It's okay. It's the Danish one. You know, the happy-go-lucky kid, not the angry taker of the in-game leader one. It's very. I think it's a good move. It's a quiet one, but I think it makes sense. One of the questions we got last week, which we didn't answer, was about Niko and whether we think it's a good permanent solution, and I think it probably is. I think Niko is really good. The only thing I would worry about is that it means Alexi B still isn't the quote unquote support player. He still has himself and a support player, which means that some of the onus is on Alexi B to frag, which is, I think it's not a great decision for a top team, but Alexi B clearly thinks it's the way forward. So
I mean, he certainly knows how to use the dual Berettas. So I mean, after that point, what more do you need?
You have to respect anyone who uses the dual Berettas, regardless of whether or not it works.
Yeah. There's like 3 players in professional that have done it, and one is already switched to Valorant. So it's a very dying breed.
It's coming back more and more. I think there was it Nafany got a dual Beretta's ace last year, and there was another player. It might have been Art. There was somebody else who got one. It was like at the bottom of Banana. Yes, Keto. Yes, you're right. It was.
Keto regularly uses them. Alexi B regularly uses them. Nitro regularly uses them.
There's a Brazilian player as well. RCF, I think it is. I think RCF uses them a lot. He's a maniac.
A dying breed there. A dying breed.
I think it's making a comeback. It's like trouser flares. They're coming back. It's in fashion again, I hope, anyway. So I've bought like 100 pairs.
There's some good bait from the OG team manager about Sunny, but she's very good at being on the internet, so we take everything from her with a large grain of salt.
I wonder what that's like, being good on the internet.
I don't know, man. She is single-handedly baiting our entire Discord about 4 times.
Yeah, I think there was one today. It was something like, what's a TH? Which I assume is sort of a joke because in English, TH is a th sound, whereas in a lot of European languages it's a t. So like the word theatre in English becomes theatre that was a horrendous accent, but theatre in a lot of European languages, so they don't pronounce the th. And I think it was taken in our Discord believes it might be to do with Thomas, which would make sense. TH as a T sound, Thomas. So maybe, but that seems like a strange move if that's the case. So it might just be another strange bait. I'm very confused as to who OG are going for.
It also seems way too obvious of a bait. Therefore, True. It must not be that.
Yeah, I'm completely lost. It's probably something entirely irrelevant that we just haven't even considered. People still seem to think it's Rops. I would be amazed if Rops went to OG.
Yeah.
I don't see how that makes any sense. Rops is like, if Rops is available, surely he'll be like one of the most sought after players on the entire market. He's incredible.
Not one of the most sought after players.
Yeah, almost certainly. I mean, I think he's the 3rd best player in the world.
We talked about this last week. He's better than the majority of the people in the world right now. It's not close.
Yeah, I think he should be and he's still young as well, so he should be. I think there's supposed to be 1 year left on his contract, but if there wasn't, I think he might be the most expensive player in CS:GO if you were to buy him outright.
I'd agree. I think that buyout would be larger than Niko's, and Niko's was very big.
Or Stewie 2K, I think, was the other one that was considered one of the higher. I think Stewie 2K was, if I remember rightly, it was just over $1 million total. I think that was included.
I don't think he actually had a buyout, because I'm pretty sure it was like a
MIBR
trade.
When he went to MIBR, it was
MIBR.
Yeah, it was a big buyout. I'm not sure if it was ever reported, but I heard figures around $1 million. I don't have any idea if that's true, but that's what I heard.
All right. Well, let's move on to another player. There's no good segue on this. Bit another player. Yeah, it's actually another 2 players. So last week we were talking about the 6-man experiment and how it has gone completely wrong for every team except for Vitality, who then decided to stop their experiment. And we talked about how we thought that Bit might be replacing Flamey just due to how things were working. That they basically said if Bit was going to play well, that Bit would just replace Flamey, and that would be it. And we've started to see more and more of that this week. And Navi's been in their ESL groups. They've played 4 games so far, and they've played Bit in a lot more games than they previously have.
There was the one game where Bit played 1 map and Flamey played 2 maps, and Bit outfragged him. That really sort of hit home what was going on here. It's like, I think Bit went to like 26 and 18 or something, and then Flamey went like 20 and 34 over 2 maps. It was very interesting. Bit, I think, is obscenely talented, and if I'm Navi, I would play him at every opportunity I could, because you want to get that guy accustomed to this level of play, because it's quite clear that he has incredible talent, and he's not going to learn to play at this level by not playing at this level.
Yeah. He actually has headshot numbers higher than Scream's headshot numbers. Like Scream from when he was playing like Scream. So Bit's been replacing Flamey more and more. In a 2-0 win over Mirage, he was plus 10. He only played a 2-0 win over MIBR, playing Mirage. Had a 97.5 ADR in the game that went to triple overtime. It was plus 10 on kills. It was him and Simple carrying the entire team. Perfecto was below, Electronic was below, Boomich was below. Every other player was not fragging, but Simple and Bit were both fragging. He was minus 12 in a loss to Gambit. Played Dust 2 and Mirage, which is, I believe, is new last time I checked. I think he was only playing Inferno, and
he was
only playing Inferno. So all of these maps, so Dust 2 and Mirage, are the two maps that he played over this entire Pro League sprint as of right now. These are all new maps for him in the Navi main roster. In a 2-0-2 loss to Furia, he was minus 12 and played Mirage. Those last 2 numbers aren't the greatest, but there's some context around that. Nobody on the team other than Simple is performing. And by nobody, I mean literally nobody.
Yeah, this tournament, apart from the game against Gambit, has basically just been Simple versus everyone.
Yeah.
I think in their opening game, Simple went like 84 and 40 or something like that, and nobody else on his team was even remotely close. It was just silly. I think Richard Lewis has been talking about the fact that he doesn't think Boomich and Blade are a very good in-game leader and coach combo. And when you see Simple having to drop 84 kills to win, going plus 40, you kind of think, yeah, he's probably got a point. This team shouldn't be losing 2-0 to Furia. This team shouldn't be losing to Gambit. Like, this is a team with Simple on it. Simple, Electronic, and then Bit as well coming through. Perfecto shows glimpses as well. This team shouldn't be struggling in any game. Like, this team should be up there with the greats, but it isn't.
And actually, according to a pregame interview yesterday, so that would be Monday morning, prior to the MIBR game, I believe, Electronic has been calling on Mirage for the last little while, and possibly other maps. I think I heard some other maps in there, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't have that in front of me right now. But Electronic's been calling, which is definitely a departure from Boomich and Blade calling.
I do wonder how commonplace this is in CS, though. It feels like this happens a lot. It's, oh, yeah, no, Apex is now calling on Mirage. Oh, no, like Cold Zero calls on this map. Like, it does seem to happen a lot. I think when it comes to pro players, a lot of them are probably capable of calling on 1 or 2 maps. It's just that we don't they often don't tell us because people get upset when it's, oh, Electronic's calling for this. So you can't let Electronic call. It's like, well, he kind of does anyway, so we just let him be in charge.
Yeah. No, I totally see that. I feel like it's I feel like generally when that happens, though, and we know about it, it's when there's no specific IGL or they're making an IGL change. They're saying we're going to split up these duties while we're making this IGL change, or we're gonna move the duties over to this not normally an IGL while we're making this change, or something like that. I feel like something like that is kind of indicative of a change happening, whether that's within the coaching staff or whether that's within the actual playing staff, Boomich in this case. I feel like there is some change imminent on the horizon if Navi doesn't perform soon.
Yeah, I think there's probably something in that. I think that's probably a good point. Like maybe Navi are looking to make a change, and in the meantime, they're slowly transitioning away from Boomich and seeing what it can be like with somebody else in charge. I think their problem is that they've waited too long, and now all the other CIS teams are good. So they're not going to be able to steal anyone else's in-game leader. I mean, I said like 4 years ago they should sign Chopper, but nobody listened to me. So it's your own fault. You could have had him. You could have had, the guys in-game leading for Spirit. Nafany was probably unlikely because I think he's played with some of the Gambit guys since he started playing Pro CS. So I don't think he would up and leave, but money does talk. So potentially he would have done. But the thing is now, you're never going to be able to get Nafany. You're never going to be able to get Chopper because these guys are as good as you now. It would be a sideways move unless you throw a hell of a lot of money at them. Nafany is somebody who, other than Shiro, has to be the highest value player on that team. This guy is he's really good as an in-game leader. He's taken a team of youngsters to the best, one of the best teams in the world, if not arguably the best team in the world at this moment in time. And this was a team that was just Gambit youngsters. Okay, he has Shiro, he has Axile, he has these talented players. But so did Na'Vi.
Navi's got Simple.
Exactly, and they're struggling.
Disputed the best player in the world.
I really think Nafany to Na'Vi would just... I mean, that would be ungodly, but I don't see Nafany giving up on Gambit this early,
and there's no reason
waited too long. No.
All right, let's move on a little bit to Pro League standings and some win conditions for some different teams. So currently in Group C, first of all, let's back up. Actually, let's talk about Group B. We were right, and by we I mean you were right. NIP won the group.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like I was right because NIP won. It's bizarre. It's like, yeah, NIP will probably win this group, and then they do. I'm like, I only have more questions. It doesn't answer anything. Are NIP even any good? I have no idea.
We, as per usual, confused about NIP. All right, let's talk about Group C. So Group C was supposed to be a tough group. They had three teams that were really good, one or two teams that were decent, and one team that was needing to perform a little bit here. So talking about Gambit, Fury, and Na'Vi in the really good category, Cloud9 in that okay, we'll see what they can do maybe, and MIBR and Team 1 in the both we need to prove something kind of tier. Both of them being MIBR being a new team, Team 1 just not having a huge amount of international success, needing to prove something here. This group wins is going about as well as I think any of us could have guessed. Gambit's 4-0, Fury's 3-1, Na'Vi... Well, let's not talk about Na'Vi yet. Team 1's 0-4, and MIBR is 1-3. The issue is that Na'Vi is 2-2 and tied with Cloud9 at 2-2. So there's a decent chance that Na'Vi does not make the playoffs from this group, and instead Cloud9 makes the chance. And I have the ways that this works here. Cloud9 go to the playoff if they win against MIBR and Na'Vi lose to Team 1. Probably not going to happen. But Seems unlikely. But the other condition is Cloud9 win against MIBR, Na'Vi win against Team 1, and Gambit beat Furia. So Cloud9 is into the playoffs.
That seems more likely, especially the way Furia played against C9. And by played, I mean just didn't. They just didn't play. They didn't turn up. I don't know what happened, but they got absolutely creamed by Alex. It was 16-5, 16-1, I think.
Maybe Cloud9's finally figuring out how to play Counter-Strike.
Possibly. I'm a little bit skeptical. They've beaten Team 1 and Furia, who had already qualified.
Yeah, but they beat Furia in a 2-0.
They beat Team 1 in a 2-1, no? Yeah, it was 2-0, yeah.
It was, yeah. And they didn't look very good in that game at all. In the Team 1 game.
Obviously, I like Team 1 because my boy Malbs is on there. They have been disappointing. They haven't really... I mean, they were massive underdogs anyway. They just have a player that I think is probably good enough to go elsewhere, and I think he showed flashes of how good he is, especially on the Deagle. However, Team 1 are the whipping boys of this group, and C9 dropped a map to them. The only team they've beaten convincingly was a team who'd already qualified, which I think... you can see it in two different ways. You can see it as, they beat a team that have already qualified, so they're clearly good, and they beat them convincingly. It's a good confidence-boosting win. They're getting better, they're improving. Or you can see it in the way I am, where I was already skeptical in the first place, and this doesn't do anything to sort of dissuade those skepticisms. I think maybe I'm a little bit biased because I don't think Cloud9 are good, and maybe they are improving. But I will wait and see. This is a group they really should, not necessarily should be qualifying out of, but they should have been. I guess they are fourth, so I can't really, and they've still got to play MIBR. So I guess it's not. I guess they've done as expected, which fine, I guess.
I mean, we'd prefer teams to do better than expected, but
not everyone can do better than expected.
Not everyone can be better than expected, and this is about where we'd put this group if we had to guess ahead of time. We said that there was a decent chance that Gambit go undefeated in this group, and that's still a decent chance that Gambit go undefeated in this group. Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest story out of this is that Navi is not performing well, which we just talked about a bunch with Bit and Flamey, switching some roles up there, like switching some maps and that kind of stuff.
They look better with Bit than with Flamey, but they don't look great with either of them, I think is the overarching theme there.
Yeah, they currently just don't look good, and the fact that they might lose out to playoffs to Cloud9 in a completely viable possible scenario is kind of scary.
Yeah, no, it is Furia and Gambit who are two of the hardest teams to play against at this current moment in time that they've lost out to. So it's not too bad, and they do still play the team who are 0-4. So you get 3 wins and you lose to Furia and Gambit. It's not a crisis, but it is a little bit worrying if you're Simple.
Mm-hmm. Nobody else in that team needs to worry. Just Simple needs to worry.
Pretty much.
Yeah. A quick note from the editor's desk. The segment that you're about to hear involves Elliot and I talking about Mad Lions and what we want to see in their new CSGO roster that's going to be built around TMB. What we didn't expect is Mad Lions releasing their roster 6 hours after we recorded the podcast. So we're not going to talk about their new roster at all this week. In fact, we're actually going to talk about their new roster next week. But just don't expect us to be right on anything because, well, we definitely were not. So enjoy us not being right for the next 10 minutes. Okay, one more note. I swear this is the last one. Just so you can compare and contrast, the roster that Mad Lions is actually putting together is TMB, Tudson, Waro2K, Keen, JL, and Sousel. I have no clue what the 6-man situation here. There are 6. I don't know which is going to be which. But yeah, back to the regularly scheduled section. All right, let's do a little bit of a thought experiment now in the post plant.
Bomb has been planted.
Mad Lions is beginning their rebuild around TMB onto an international roster. Came out on HLTV Confirmed last week about, I don't know, like an hour after we recorded this podcast, that Cuban, the guy from the Golden Five, is going to be coaching the team, and Rain, which I pronounced correctly.
I think it is pronounced phonetic. Region, the guy who is at Mouse with the top knot.
Former coach at Mouse Sports,
guy who beat G2.
Yeah, who's going to be a senior manager, which according to some guy on the HLTV forum comment section just basically means the analyst for the team.
Essentially.
But let's talk about this team. if we're building, we don't get very often to say we're building a team around one person. Who are we doing? Who are we picking up, right? Let's take this thought experiment and run a little bit with it. If we're building a team around TMB, I know that they're looking for young people, they're looking for free agents. They're not looking to do any big buyouts. Who are we looking at? Who's our primary goals here of people that we should be kind of thinking about?
One who I think is quite obvious because it's somebody I believe TMB played with before. Obviously, I'm going to be a little bit biased towards him, but I think Christou. North, I know, were very, very high on Christou when they signed him. They were very high on him. They thought he was genuinely really talented, and he's young. He is available, obviously, now that North have disbanded. I think Christou is somebody who you could nurture into a really, really decent player, and I think there is some synergy there with TMB. I believe they were both on. I can't remember the name of the team now, but I believe they were both on the same team when North signed Christou, because there were a lot of North fans saying we should have got TMB as well.
All right. The name I've been seeing pop up a lot, and I'm not sure whether I'd like to add them to the team or not, but because Cuban was picked up as the coach, the name I've been seeing a lot is Miho as one of the riflers to come in. I'm not sure if that's a terrible move.
I have absolutely no idea how good Miho is.
He played for Virtus Pro when they were on their strong decline of being Virtus Pro. He played for Envy, which that team was. There were issues with that team, but I'm not sure any of them were his problem.
Yeah, I'm not either. It's not like I've never seen him play. I've seen him play, and I'm none the wiser as to how good this guy is. He was on a terrible Virtus Pro team where he looked kind of like their best player, but nobody came out of that smelling like roses. And then he was on Envy, which again was a terrible team where he kind of looked like the best player, but I'm not sure how much you can take from that. He's probably talented. He's probably talented, but I don't know if I would necessarily build a team around him. Having said that, Mad Lions are clearly a team who like to pick up undervalued or underappreciated or players who can grow. And if you believe that Miho is a victim of circumstance, he's a prime candidate for somebody who you could pick up, flip, and then sell for more money. Like you could turn his form around, he could show how good he is, and then you can flip him for cash.
Yeah, and if there's anyone that knows that, it's probably Cuban.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's coached him for years. It's definitely the guy. Another guy. So going back to that Envy roster, actually, Thomas is a free agent right now. And Thomas should go to a team. I don't know what team.
He's pretty good.
Where, but he's a good player and he's worth playing on a tier 1 team. What's your thought on Thomas in this?
I wouldn't mind that. I think it's a strange team for sure. Thomas, TMB, Miho. It's a very unusual team, but one that I think has enough pieces that you can be excited about. I really think TMB is really good. So whatever team they build around them, I'm kind of interested because I think TMB is genuinely really talented. I think Thomas has shown flashes that he can play at a tier 1 level as well. Mad Lions, actually, to be fair to them, they get some stick for being like a feeder team, as it were, and constantly changing roster. But their sort of track record of finding talent is really good. Yeah. I think the players they've picked up and have moved on have all looked really decent. So I would actually trust them, I think, to build a good roster that they can move forward with. I do wonder if NATO Safix leaving Lingby Vikings was something to do with this as well.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, he's definitely that would be one of those like kind of cheap needs to develop, but cheaper players that is available and there. Cuban in his interview talked about having 2 oppers and kind of in scrims on a 4-game scrim, playing one opper in scrim 1, a different opper in scrim 2, having both them kind of look back on their prior performances and playing them again to get better, and basically having 2 oppers with different styles, one more aggressive opper and one more of a less aggressive opper, in kind of a 6th man kind of style, and switching them out on a per game basis. I know you and I have already talked about our thoughts on the 6th man experiment, But we haven't seen a 6-man experiment with 2 oppers and switching based on map and style of op.
I'm not entirely against it. I think we've seen teams change who the AWPer is seemingly on a whim. I mean, Liquid were the prime example of that, where Stewie2K would sometimes just AWP, sometimes NAF would AWP, sometimes it would be somebody else. Most of the time it was Nitro, but then not all the time. So it's not a completely alien concept. And if you believe that some maps having a passive AWPer is better than having an aggressive one, then sure. It's not necessarily something I would say out loud if that was the plan, though, because it becomes quite obvious then. It's like, oh, they're playing the aggressive AWPer. Just watch out for a pick in the first 30 seconds of every round. I think that becomes... It can almost become predictable, in a sense, if you tell people that's what's happening.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Are there any AWPers that you think would be a good fit for this team? This make-believe team that we have no absolute any information on.
Well, quite. I suppose NATO is the obvious one. I'm not sure who else is available that I would be excited about for that level of team. I mean, obviously, Kenny S would be a dream, right? But they're not looking to pay big money, and there's no way Kenny S would go to Mad Lions. So I think it's difficult to find somebody, but then I trust them to pluck these gems out of nowhere. I think I would maybe look towards the other side of the Atlantic and go towards either Brazil or NA and look for players over there, because I think there's a lot of undervalued talent out west.
An American player? Insane.
Well, I mean, I'm telling you, man, Triumph have got some talent. Cynic is good. He's really good. Somebody should try and buy him. I'm telling you.
I mean, this is the time to do it. All right, we got some. They
missed out on Curry, who I think is goated, but he's not a Valorant player, so that's unfortunate.
All right, let's move over to overtime where we get some listener mail questions. So the first question: will Aizy be picked up again, or is it too late for him now? We'll start there, and then Wes, the next question.
Yes, he will. I've been told that he is apparently getting picked up soon, actually. I don't know the team, but I do know that he is apparently close to joining another team. So I think he will, because I've been told that he apparently will.
Does he DM you things on like when it's happening, so that way you can be prepared to like change your profile picture and stuff on Twitter?
No, he's very quiet. I think we don't really talk. It's not like... He probably thinks... I mean, I don't blame him. He probably thinks I'm absolutely insane.
I mean, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Describe your perfect baller of a player with attributes.
Really high headshot percentage, like perfect first bullet accuracy, and like the brain of somebody, as in the Chinese player, where you don't push something unless it's smoked or mollied. That guy will play passive. Somebody will molly him, and then he'll run through the Molotov to peek you. That's how he plays, and I like that. I think that's almost entirely it. Like, they just need to be able to click heads, and somebody who would run through a brick wall for a glimpse of a headshot, like peak Apex, where you tell him, right, we're executing B. You're gonna run through this Molotov whilst blind. You're gonna have half a second to try and find a head and pluck it off, and he just go, yeah, all right. That's what I want. I want to play. You know that clip of Freakazoid talking about Stewie2K where he goes, I want a team of... What is it he said? I want a team of non-thinkers. That's what I want. I want a team of non-thinkers. I want one guy to tell everyone what to do, and the rest of them will just do it blindly. Yep. I just want like Crystal and then just 4 headshots, nothing else.
All right, let's make it happen. Chris J's future. Please, I need to know where my boy is going.
This is a tough one because he was going to go to FPX, as everyone knew. And then I think Devil Walk said on HRTV, confirmed that it was like a salary issue, which is interesting because that doesn't strike... It seems a little... It's not what you would expect from Chris J, at least from what we, see from the outside. Maybe Mouse's salaries are just much higher than what FPX are willing to pay. So I think he might just end up And maybe he goes to Mad Lions, actually. As like the veteran of the team who can teach some people. You know, he can be one of the AWPers. He could be the in-game leader. I'm falling in love with this idea more and more. I think that makes some sense. I'd love to see him on a team with AZ, but I don't think that's going to happen. Just because I would instantly support that team.
It'd be such a weird team. Mad Lions with Chris J and Miho and Thomas and TMB.
Oh I like it. I like it already.
So
let's get it going.
All right. What are our thoughts on the Hellraisers Twitter?
It's so good, isn't it? It's so bizarre. I couldn't tweet this weirdly if I tried, and I have tried, but I cannot make memes that make less sense. But they like tweeted something on Monday about the actor Chloe Moretz, and they were talking about oh no, we didn't just make this meme. Career. Yeah, we didn't just make this meme because one of our players had a picture on Steam. It's because of her esports career. And it was just a picture of Chloe Moretz with Hellraiser's eyebrows. It didn't make any sense. It was brilliant. It was absolutely genius. They just get like so many interactions, and it's nearly all people go, "What the fuck are you on about?" It's brilliant. I honestly wish I could tweet like that, but I can't. It's so surreal. It's like a. You know how in art they had the surrealism movement?
Yeah.
Hellraisers are to Twitter what surrealism is to the art movement. It's incredible.
It's so weird because if it was any other team, you'd be like, what the fuck? And it would just be like, it wouldn't have existed for very long. But because it's Hellraisers, they just do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, they just don't give a fuck. They just like people just sort of take the mick out of them and they just respond. Like somebody just like tweeted them with a question mark and they just responded with an exclamation mark. I guess you're right, man. I can't argue. Like I get, yeah, fair enough. Exclamation mark. True.
All right, we've been asked if you invest in Bitcoin.
I don't. I have a friend who invested in cryptocurrency the last year, and every time I think about investing in Bitcoin, I'm like, no, it's gonna burst soon. Like I've already missed the boat, and I've missed the boat about 100 times because it just keeps going up. But now it's like it hit 50K. I'm like, there's no way it's gonna go higher. So I just refuse to invest now. I'm like, it's too late now.
It's spite now. That's all it is.
Yeah, I know that if it's like when you put a guy into your fantasy football team and they immediately just stop scoring. Like, I know that's what's going to happen. If I invest in Bitcoin, it's immediately going to crash. I tried stock investing recently using like fake money. So you get an account with 10,000 fake pounds and you can invest in stocks and try and build it up. And after like 2 weeks, I'd only lost like £400 but made like nothing. So I was like, well, I could really grind on how to do this on a fake account. Or I could just not bother because it could take too long without making money before I could feel confident in making money. And then I'd probably just be like, oh no, this is real money. I need to be more careful and not invest.
And not do something stupid. Yep, no, I feel that one.
Absolutely.
All right. And finally, a repeat question asker here has asked you, will you read me a bedtime story?
I feel like I should. It's such a nice question. I wanted to make it like a limerick about a CS player, but I couldn't think of one off the top of my head. There once was a man called Niko who was deadly when he's on an eco. He pulled out his deagle, killed some legendary eagles, and I can't think of another word to rhyme with Niko. That's unfortunate.
There we go. We'll take it.
There was a few other questions I got asked, quick ones. Will Tier 2 NACS be in dire waters if Sheikh Zula decides to switch to the V game? Assuming you mean Valorant and not Virginity, yes, it would be. Sheikh Zula is like, he's so good at just picking out talent and teaching them how to play the game. Somebody asked if I think they're a simp. They're called Pokimane Fan 333, so probably. Will there ever be a clear number one team again? Yeah. When 80 gets back on a team. what would I choose to be my final meal? Now, there's two options here. It would definitely be a burger, right? I think that goes without saying.
What kind of burger?
Glad you asked. So in the last few years, I've like been trying a lot of different burgers close to me, and the two best ones I've had, one was from a place called Patty Freaks, and it was a burger with cheese, bacon, a caramel waffle, sweet chili sauce, and peanut butter, and it was to die for. It was just so good. And the other one I had quite recently was called the Bacon Biscoff Burger, which was exactly what you think it was. A bacon and cheeseburger just dripping in Biscoff, just like a biscuity sauce. I don't know how to explain it. It was the sweetest thing I've ever had. It was essentially dessert and a meal in one. And it was amazing.
Okay. I have no clue what my final meal would be. I have absolutely no clue off the top of my head.
Really? It's not something you think about a lot.
No,
I think about it all the time.
Bro, I'm 20 years old. I'm not planning on dying anytime soon or getting arrested and having to have a final meal before I get executed. So, like...
Well, no, but, like, I'm planning on eating a lot, and one of them's going to be my final meal.
Yeah, but I don't need to worry about that for at least, like, another year.
I mean, you live in America. There's like, just, I don't know, like an entire tray of Southern mac and cheese or something.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, when you haven't left your house for a year, there's not really a huge amount of that.
Well, quite.
I mean, right, enough. And in a very Top Gear ending here on that disappointment, we're done for this week. We'll talk to you guys again next week. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to rate and review us on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcast. See y'all next week.
See ya.
Hey guys, it's Logan. Thanks for listening to Overtime on Inferno. We'd greatly appreciate it if you would follow and review us on your favorite podcast player. If you have any feedback at all, please email me at logan@readtldr.gg. We'd love hearing feedback from our listeners.